Recording in progress.
Doje Shangi Kompanu Topsho. Let's do the 4 limitless contemplations. Sorry. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen damche dewatang dewe jutang denpa jutik dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa jutik dungal mepe dewa tampa tang mindrawa jutik Nering chak tang ni tang trawe tang nung chempo la ne pa jutik. So good evening to all of you just came. Hello Liam, hello all of you. It's nice when I see you. Let me just get to my page. Hello Pam. And tonight we are going to do the next part and last part of this series of we're doing dreams, but this is about applying Buddhism to Western psychology. And this is dreams are a great way to apply the Buddhism to Western psychology. And this is part 6 of the series. So we'll end this series here. And then next week, what I thought we could do, hello Kati, what I thought we could do is that let's have a question and answer session next week. And then you can even bring your dreams in and we could talk about a lot of your dreams. So if you have some lovely dreams to bring in, hello Marion, it'll be really nice that you bring them next week, because I think if we work on them, I'm very happy when we do the question and answer sessions to even work a little bit with the human psyche, because Tibetan dream yoga starts with the human psyche, moves into the substrate or alaya consciousness, and then into the primordial consciousness, which we've been talking about. So the reason it does work in the psyche, Tibetan dream yoga, is because it's really important to finish and clear everything in this lifetime. And the samsaric dreams relate to the psyche and the alaya consciousness and help you to clear that. So the point is that when you use that when you use your psychological part of your dreaming, it does clear this up and makes it possible for you to really go to the primordial consciousness. So I thought I have to do my Chang Tzu quotes, because what would a dream lecture be without my Chang Tzu quotes? I always give them. So these are my 2 quotes. Once upon a time, I, Chang Tzu, dreamt that I was a butterfly, fluttering hither and thither to all intents and purposes, a butterfly. I was conscious only of following my fancies as a butterfly and was unconscious of my individuality of a man. Suddenly I awakened, and there I lay myself again. Now, I do not know whether I was a man dreaming that I was a butterfly, or whether I'm now a butterfly dreaming that I'm a man. Now, this is so important, because what's your dream? Are you something else dreaming that you are this person in this life? And then he said, his other quote is, one man will dream of the banquet hour, but wake to lamentation and sorrow. Another will dream of lamentation and sorrow, but wake to enjoy himself in the hunting field. While men are dreaming, they do not perceive it as a dream. Some will even have a dream in a dream, and only when they're awake do they know that it was all a dream. And so, only when the great awakening comes upon us shall we know this life to be a great dream. And what a difference it makes if you know that it is a dream. The subject of dreaming is such a vast one, but I'm going to just finish and go back to YouTube if you didn't hear the one last week, because I really gave you a good background and to say that, in summary, that each bardo, we've got 6 bardos in our life: the bardo between birth and death, the bardo of dreaming, the bardo of meditation, and 3 bardos in the afterlife. Those are the gaps, okay? And each bardo that you enter has got a different consciousness. That's what I was teaching last time. The elements group together and differently. So if we think that our situation in any one of the 6 bardos, including after death, is real and solid, we are trapped in that bardo. But once we're trapped in a bardo, one different thought, and we're out of that bardo. Because it's only the human mind that holds you by believing that it's solid. So one different thought, and you're out of that bardo. So the key of all of this is to know and become aware that we are dreaming, whether in daily life, whether in the dream time, whether in deep meditation, or in death. It's all a dream, impermanent, transitory, non-solid. So in the dream of the night, we must wake up and we must not be attached to anything in any bardo. It's really important that you understand that, because the attachment is what traps us and makes it solid. And we must move on after our experiences, whether they're joyful or painful, doesn't matter. We need to move on. When people go through pain, it's normal that the human psyche puts forward a lot of pain and tears. But if they're still in those pain and tears years and years later, like a few people we know are, then it means they're trapped in that bardo. And somehow we are trying to get them out of it. So I want to read you from the Dreamwork manual. It's not a Tibetan one, but I think it's a very interesting quote. This was by a guy called Stepron Kaplan Williams, and he writes this book, the Dreamwork Manual, and this is what he says. It's called The Story of a Dreamer. I dreamt that I was dreaming myself. Or was it that I dreamt that someone was dreaming me? I do not remember. But when I woke up, I knew that because of the dream, a dream for which I had not asked, my whole life would from this day be different. It was as if I had awakened because I had dreamed that I was dreaming. This puzzled me, since up to this moment I was always thought that it was I who was dreaming my dreams. But now I had to also face that I might well be being dreamt by some other being of which I knew nothing. This frightened me. Was I not in control of my own life? Was I not an adult who had taken charge of my life and my actions? Or was I still somebody's child to be manipulated and directed with little say of my own? Perhaps I was most afraid because if it were true that somebody or something was dreaming me, I would have to find out who or what that being was and relate to it. I would want to do this because I would want choice in the matter of what was really going on in my life. Perhaps I did not want to be dreamed, but also did I have control in the matter? Perhaps my only freedom was in how I related to what was really there. My fear was not only losing control, but also of what I would find if I looked for who or what was dreaming me. And how would I find out? Why? Through my dreams, of course. If I actively remembered and worked on my dreams, I might achieve a freedom I'd never known before, a freedom which would allow me to see into that other world, which compelled me to make conscious choices in relation to it. My fear was beginning to evaporate under the challenge. Perhaps I needed the dream, that I needed what my dreams were trying to say to me, that my dreams were not trying to control me after all, but maybe to set me free. Perhaps working with he, she who dreams me would be my way of filling a void somewhere deep within that I've always felt but never been able to do anything with. perhaps the dream, perhaps working with the dream? Am I making choices in relation to the dream? But where would I go? How would I find help in dealing with my dream? I knew only that because I had dreamed and been dreamed, I needed to search. Now, that's what he said in his Dreamwork manual. And I took a quote after this from Alan Wallace, which is really interesting because he said, when we say, now listen carefully, I am dreaming, okay, the I emerges from the substrate, the alaya, not the substrate consciousness, the alaya. Who or what is dreaming, says Alan Wallace. This waking reality is being dreamed by primordial consciousness. This waking reality is being dreamed by primordial consciousness. Very interesting. Because don't you want to know the primordial consciousness that is dreaming you up and making you all the time? Well, I do. And anybody who wants to hold my hand is really welcome to come and really find out about this, because we are being dreamed by our primordial consciousness, and most of us don't even know our primordial consciousness. At the moment, I've got a lot of people going through a lot of deep trauma, and they don't know that it's a dream. And they don't know that the trauma has come about because the primordial consciousness is giving you a chance to clear the alaya consciousness of all its imprints. And when you know that, you are in a completely different situation. And I was saying last week, and I'm going to do it very quickly, that Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche says all experiences, including illness, including experiences with people, begin on a subtle level, long before it manifests into physical manifestation, on a subtle level, and then moves into a more tangible physical consciousness. Now, if we catch the subtle message, say in illness, like you have a dream, and the dream is about lungs, or about your lungs. And it's only in subtle level. It hasn't manifested. But we go, you know what? I had a dream, and this and this and this was shown to me in the dream. And if you go and follow it up, then the subtle consciousness may not manifest into physical consciousness. So when you know and you are totally aware, if you tune in on a deep level, how you live is how you dream, is how you die. So it is well worth learning what this dream is about. And in Tibetan dream yoga, we know that there are 3 levels of dreaming, which are so important for you to know. There are the samsaric dreams. What are the samsaric dreams? It's very, very interesting because Wangyal Rinpoche, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, says it in a beautiful way. I'm just going to find this because I've got so many hundreds of lectures from all my dreams and retreats and whatever. So when you have a samsaric dream, and next week you are most welcome to bring any samsaric dreams that you have, okay? It's about that the karmic trace that is left in your alaya or substrate consciousness will very often come to fruition in a dream. So that something will happen in your dream that makes you fully aware of that karmic imprint. It's called bakchak, which are the traces left when the habits and the latent propensities accumulated in this and previous lifetime. And how Wang says it is very, very interesting. He says, so the karmic traces are like photographs that we take of each experience that we have, whether it be a feeling, whether it be a trauma, whatever it is, there's a photograph of that particular karmic experience. And he says, in the dark room of our sleep, we develop the film. Now, Igor, you, a photographer, this should be very interesting to you, because in the dark room of our sleep, we develop the film. And some are powerful reactions, some are faint traces. Our consciousness, like the light of a projector, illuminates the traces that have been stimulated, and they manifest as the images and experiences of the dream. We string them together like a film to make meaning from conditioned tendencies and habitual identities. And guess what? We do the same when we are awake, making up our experience from our perspective. It's like a dark room. We will see our experience according to the karmic imprints that we have and according to the background that we have. And I want you to question this. So next week, when we have a question and answer session, especially if it's not a huge group, I really want you to ask, and let's discuss this and let's get through it. Because the idea in Tibetan dream yoga is to get through your samsaric dreams and really use them and understand them completely. Understand that if we understand what they are, free of the limitations of the physical world, we change this, because we see every single thing we go through as an opportunity for a spiritual experience instead of a poor me situation. Everybody's in the right circumstances. Everybody is there. And we can start becoming awake in our dreams. And we work on this until there are no hidden karmic influences in our lives. We work on it really, really, really hard, okay? When karmic traces are exhausted, only the pure light of awareness remains. No movie, no story, no dreamer, no dream, only the luminous fundamental nature that is absolute reality. So the samsaric dreams are those dreams with your karmic traces. It's an interaction between the alaya consciousness, substrate consciousness that I've been talking about, which has all the imprint, and the human psyche. And they go for each other. And then a dream comes, or an experience comes in your daily life, which is a dream, but we're not aware of it. We think, oh dear, this is happening to me. But think about it. People like the Buddha in previous lifetimes saw the starving tiger who couldn't find any food and had all these cubs, and went and gave himself to the tiger, who then killed him and ate him. And in 1 minute, he was reborn in absolute bliss, because he knew it was a dream. And he knew, if I feed this tiger, I really will be clearing everything that I need to do, and she'll be able to survive with her tigers. Sure. Too much. Okay, but think about it. The second type of dreaming are the dreams of clarity. And these are, we're going to talk a little more about them, where you actually have lucid dreams. Now, I don't have time to really teach you how to lucid dream. You can ask me next week about the lucid dreaming, about forming your energy and your mind into a dream body and then going where you need to go. Okay, but lucid dreaming comes in the dreams of clarity. And in those dreams of clarity, they feel different to the samsaric karmic dreams. And the way you can tell the difference, because people were always asking me when I took dream retreats, how do you tell the difference between a samsaric dream and a dream of clarity? If the dream of clarity has all kinds of earthly things in it, you can tell by your feeling. Because in the morning, when you wake up from a dream of clarity, you are always in a kind of an elevated state. You are always, it's like an upliftment because you've been tapping in. You can get omens, prognostications. You can meet masters. Shame you're on the train. Okay. You can meet masters. You can do many, many things in your dreams of clarity. It's really important to understand that. So to be able to bring down the dreams of clarity, you will get many, many things and you will ask for things. And I tell people who've lost very close people, I go, ask for a dream. And then they go, well, is that disturbing them? And I say, not if you ask for a dream. You don't push it. Because very often when you ask for a dream, the person who is deceased might really like to say one or two things to you or give you one or two messages that they have to. Not on and on and on and on and on. I'm keeping my mother and she's guarding me. Not any of that rubbish. Sorry, but that's not on, because that is holding them back. I'm talking about when you really, really want to know. I really want to know if this person has actually been able to go through the bardos and find their way to the light. You may well find that. But usually, when I tell bereaved people to have dreams of, ask for dreams of the person that have died, very often that person will come and give them a dream. Like I remember one woman who wouldn't let go of her son, and he came in a dream, and they were on a boat, and there was a boat, and he got onto the boat, and he sailed away. He gave her the love, and then sailed away because he really needed to, or dropped the person, because they really can't bear it when you're holding them and calling them and talking to them and everything. But in a dream state, when your consciousness is in a different level, it's perfectly permissible to ask, especially if you have people that you really trust, or you have a Guru Rinpoche or a Chen Rezi or whatever you are doing, and you say, I'd really like to have a dream and see where this person is. That's okay. Those are your dreams of clarity, not only deceased, but I've had many, many dreams with masters and giving you things and all of that. And sometimes these Tibetans who really know how to do Tibetan dream yoga, after they've had the dream, they found the object that was given to them in the dream in their hands when they wake up. Okay. And Surya Das says, what if you found the rose you plucked in your dream in your hand when you woke up? What would you say if you found the object that they gave you? Very interesting thing, okay? So it's really important that you are able to look at these dreams. And then finally, there are the clear light dreams. And those are the dreams with no content, no movie, no anything. It is a very interesting thing because in neuroscience, you go through 4 stages of falling asleep at night. And each stage in neuroscience can be monitored of your dream activity as you're going through, as you're falling asleep and going into the sleep state. Now, the difference between Tibetan dream yoga and neuroscience is, like when you see the phases in neuroscience, you're going through the hypnagogic images as you go to sleep, and then stage 2, when they become a little deeper, and then you're going into stage 3 where they become deeper, and stage 4, which is your deep state of sleep. What happens is you go neuroscientifically into the deep state of sleep, and then you come back up to what we call rapid eye movement REM sleep, where the dreams take place, and then back into the deep sleep and back into REM sleep. And then as the night goes on, it becomes the REM sleep, comes quicker. And so in the early hours of the morning, you have very easy REM sleep that you can remember your dreams. And that's why people find it easier to remember their dreams, closer to your waking state. But in Tibetan dream yoga, the 4th stage of the neuroscience is the stage where you enter your primordial consciousness, your pure, clear light. So in other words, you're in the deepest level of sleep, and your body is completely rested, and you are totally awake and lucid. So it is amazing, very difficult to achieve. And Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, when he goes on a dark retreat, he achieved that many, many times. And I think I told you last week that he was in the middle of his dark retreat. He went for 49 days each time into dark retreat, pitch dark. When people say, how do you go to the bathroom? You go in the pitch dark, you just move in the pitch dark. You don't know whether it's morning, you don't know whether it's night, you don't know what it is, but you are totally in touch with yourself. And he said the one day he'd been actually sleeping and woke up, and the room was total pearly light. There was not a single physical light, but it was total pearly light. So it's very, very interesting, because the dreams of the clear light are for those advanced practitioners. And if they can get there to the dreams of clear light while you are in life, I haven't managed to get there, I assure you, nowhere near. But if you can get there, then you will definitely, when you die, go straight to that state, to your primordial state, without even 1 minute of messing around with anybody. It's really unbelievable. So does anybody want to ask anything or say anything? Because I've got this in very great detail, and I'm kind of summarizing the dream material. And a lot of people who aren't here tonight have asked me, please, I want to get the YouTube, because I can't manage to be there. I know at this time of the year, it's very difficult for people. They've all got work projects and all kinds of things. But let's just carry on.
Mel, there's a question. Kathy actually asked a question just now when she said she was on the train. She asked a question in the chat.
Oh,
hang on. Yeah. She asked, so is our primordial nature showing or teaching us through our dream, guiding us?
Absolutely. It's absolutely guiding you. The only trouble is, Kat, that we don't know, because we're not amenable to it. As soon as you know that the primordial consciousness is guiding you, you have absolute faith in every situation that you have to go through in your lives. You have faith because you just surrender. I watched Lama Yeshe Rinpoche on Sunday, how he was when he was here and everything. He just surrenders. Doesn't make any difference where he is, what he's doing. He just surrenders to it. And I think that, when they left Tibet, their parents, Ekong Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe's parents, there were a few kids in the family, but their parents, every other Sunday, the police used to come, the Chinese police used to come and torture them because the two lamas had left the country, so they came and tortured them. Now, they knew that their parents were getting tortured because they had left the country. I mean, it's just, it's just absolutely unbelievable, because when you think of it, how do you accept that? They just surrendered to it. It is what it is. And the primordial consciousness will direct you. Well, in that case, I have some juicy dreams to share where I've definitely been guided and taught. Amazing. Emma Ho, bring them. I know you can't do it on the train, but bring them. We'll be so happy to actually listen to them. Bring them. It's fabulous. I want you to see where you get the guidance in your dream state. And sometimes I don't even really know the content. Lately, I'm not at all sold on content. But I think that was because for so many years, I mean, when I started on a dream path about, at least 30, 40 years ago, okay, when I started, I got up every night in the middle of the night. I mean, I was a little bit younger, and I got up every night, went to the bathroom, wrote my dreams down. There wasn't such a thing as typing your dreams into computers or something, or saying them. I used to write them down. And, when I left my house now, and I had these dream journals like piled up to the sky, I said, Melanie, it's time to let them go. And I got rid of all of them. I shredded them, and that was the end of the dream journals. Hundreds and thousands of dreams. And so you train yourself, and then eventually you remember. But comes a time where the content doesn't interest you so much, unless it's a dream of clarity, doesn't interest you so much. I just books through the content now, because for so many years I was working on that. And if there is something that I'm doing in my life and it comes up in content, then I clearly look at it. But what I wanted to do was, I just want to go through the psychological theories of dreaming, which I think are really quite important for you to understand. And then you can ask me about them, because, Freud was the first one to really be very interested in dreams psychologically. And Freud actually said, I just want to give you the right quote. He said, Freud saw dreams as the royal road to the unconscious. He was way ahead of his time. They hadn't really dealt with the dreaming at that time. But the bottom line is that the masters, all the masters had already been doing this dreaming for absolute eons. They'd been doing it in the East. They'd been using lucid dreaming and everything. Hello, Kerry, you'll have to go back and listen to what we've just said, okay? So they were using dreaming and lucid dreaming and experiences for eons of time. But anyway, when the West woke up, Freud was one of the first modern, you could say, theorists to say that the dreams were the royal road to the unconscious, and he believed the dreams to be the emergent consciousness of repressed unconscious desires, and especially unconscious sexual desires. He put it to sexual desires, revolutionary for his time, and he paved the way for further exploration, which is really, really important. But, I got very aggravated when I first saw Freud in my studies and everything, and then I went on to Jung, which was a lot easier, because Jung was way ahead of Freud, and he already had one foot in a spiritual camp. But as I've told all of you when I was talking about it, poor old Jung had to actually also he had to be in his time. And it was really very difficult for him to teach what he really, really knew. So he went a little bit further, lot further, and he extended the unconscious that Freud taught about, and he called it the collective consciousness, okay, belonging to a universal mind, and it had archaic sources. Now that was similar, but not exactly the same as our Tibetan basis of, going into the alaya or substrate consciousness and then going into the primordial consciousness. So let's say if you looked at the human psyche, that Freud went here to what he called the unconscious, and Jung went deeper to the collective unconscious, and the alaya and substrate is even a deeper level of consciousness, which wasn't really touched. Although I really think that Jung understood this very well, and he wrote the introduction to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So he knew exactly what was going on, but he used archetypal symbols. And these symbols come up in your dreams, the shadow, which is your dark side, the anima, the animus. The anima is the female part of the male, the animus is the male part of the female. And he introduced a whole dream language, which was really very useful for analyzing your dreams. And I often use it, I use a lot, okay? But for him, I think, he had a breakdown at one time of his life, and I think that was because it was too difficult for him to integrate what he knew spiritually with the times, the psychiatry and psychology of the times. So he had a breakdown, and he cured himself of the breakdown with no medication. He just did sand play. And I think there, Kathy, he gave over to the primordial consciousness to actually heal him and bring him in touch. But he understood this collective consciousness, which was really, really important. So Fritz Perls was another theorist, and he brought the Gestalt psychology into being, especially for dreams. Now, the Gestalt psychology I used absolutely all the time for people that I was using in my dream groups, because the Gestalt psychology is a way of integrating and making the psyche whole. And you can ask me about this next week as well. The symbols in the dreams are projections, the parts of ourselves that need to be integrated. So how the Gestalt works is that you take a part of your dream and you dramatize it. You become the parts of your dream based on the theory that whatever is in your dream comes from your mind. And as soon as you become the parts of the dream, you really are able to integrate those parts back. And I did this with really literally hundreds of dream groups that I was working in, where people worked on the parts. So for example, I put some examples here. One person would have a repetitive dream of a dry riverbed. So you go to the person, okay, become the dry riverbed. Then they would say, I am the dry riverbed. Oh my goodness, there's no water flowing in me. It's dried up. I'm dried up. I don't know what to do. Nothing is flowing from me. Now, when you can become the part of the dream, you can then integrate it into your being, because what has, I would say, what has dried out in you? What is it that is dry? What are you afraid of? Where are your emotions? What is happening in your life? So from becoming the part of the dream, now, when people have dreams that are obvious, like the one in the book, I am a marshmallow in the ocean. Okay, be the marshmallow in the ocean. I am disintegrating. Okay, if you are the marshmallow, that's an obvious one. But many, many times, people have dreams about other people they may not have seen for a long time, or about a specific relative or some other person. And then I always say to them, right, give that person an adjective, okay? So when you give that person an adjective, say inhibited or very bouncy, very, very alert, you have to do that adjective quick, not think, or they never say what they mean, or they are untruthful when they talk. You just give an adjective for that person, and then they would become that person in the dream. So they would say, I am the untruthful part of myself. You know, I often say things that I don't mean. Okay? Things like that, that you learn to integrate whatever it is that that person represents. So dreams are really the samsaric dreams are really very, very helpful in terms of being able to integrate the psyche. Now remember, when the psyche is integrated and you're able to see what comes from the alaya consciousness of your karmic imprints into your life, then you are much more whole. You haven't got those things to concentrate on your life. And then you can do the Tibetan dream yoga of going much deeper into who you really are, who you really, really are. So Fritz Perls, with his Gestalt technique of that time, was a very brilliant technique, and using it really, really helps people to integrate a lot of the things that they've got. And then Edgar Cayce. Now, Edgar Cayce was one of the first people who decided he added the whole spiritual aspect of dreaming. So he was actually largely talking about what in Tibetan dream yoga is known as the dreams of clarity. He was largely talking about that. He said that dreams solve the problems of the dreamer, as well as taking him to the heights and potentials of spirituality. And he did lots of healing through people's dreams. So that was brilliant. And that's all in the Tibetan dream yoga. Because of course, if you have a dream, it's really important to know exactly how you can heal. And I'll show you in some of the dreams of clarity how people actually have proper healing dreams. In fact, let me do it right now, because while I'm doing it, because I'm going back and forth, and you must ask me really as much as you want to know, because I really want you to do it. But things like this, let me find it in the dreams of clarity. The recovery of Gelongma Palmo. Gelongma Palmo was a Buddhist princess in ancient India, and she contracted leprosy. She isolated herself and prayed all the time to Chenrezig. One night, after many years of illness, she dreamt of a white being who appeared and poured a nectar of light on her body with a bumpa, the ceremonial pitcher. Next day, awoke and was healed, and her mind was healed. And also a Lama from Tibet became sick, took many medicines, and prayed for healing. One night, Matro Rinpoche, his source Lama, appeared as if physical, told him to open his mouth, placed something on his tongue, and was completely healed. Now, Edgar Cayce was obviously using the healing and using that to actually bring that spiritual dimension into healing. You know, when you really understand the whole process of dreaming, you know, yesterday I was just looking at all these dream notes. I mean, I've got notes about this high, I can't possibly even read through them. And then I said to myself, you know, Melanie, you've been giving these lectures and teachings on dreaming for a long time. Just do it from your heart, because basically There's so much, and you've got to pull out of me the things that you want to know. But I want you to understand that the whole bardo of dreams, the whole time when you go to sleep, is when your consciousness regroups, the elements regroup, and then you are able to understand other things, just as when you die. And all of this human psyche and consciousness, except the alaya consciousness, dissolves. And then you regroup in the next bardo. You are able to see and understand things in a very incredible way. It's really important for all of you to understand this, because it really is very helpful for you to know that that happens. And I just want to talk very briefly on Stephen LaBerge, because Stephen LaBerge brought lucid dreaming to the West. Okay, lucid dreaming is having complete consciousness and recognition of the dream while you are dreaming. So you are totally lucid. In Tibetan dream yoga, it is because the prana of your body and your mind have gotten together into a dream body, and that dream body is able to go to all different dimensions of consciousness. I know, because I've been many, many, many times. Now I can't do it like when I was younger. I'm too tired at night, and I can't actually do it. I just go where I go, and that's that. I never plan or work out lucid dreaming or anything like that. I'm much too tired to even think about that. But Stephen LaBerge proved scientifically what happened to individuals when they dreamt lucidly. And he introduced many techniques for assisting people to dream lucidly, like, e.g., your dream signs. So you will find that in your dreams, you have particular dream signs that come up in your dreams, and then you're dreaming. So before you go to sleep, you're saying, I will recognize that I am dreaming. I will know. And as soon as you see the sign in the dream, you know immediately that you're in a dream. And then you can go on your journey, which is really, really nice. Many, many waking techniques to help you to dream lucidly. But what Stephen LaBerge taught for the West is very different to lucid dreaming in the East. Why? Because the motivation is totally different in the West and the East. It's kind of, in the West, it's all about I, me, myself. I mean, some people who could dream lucidly can even go into other people's houses while they are asleep and go and check out what they're doing. Now, for me, this is a terrible invasion of people's privacy or anything. If you are able to lucidly dream, you can go wherever you want. The West is all about I, me, myself, what I want, where I want to go, where I want, what I want to do. And it can also be used for psychological integration. But the motivation for being lucid in Tibetan dream yoga is so that you can connect with your true nature. That's the motivation, not to visit wonderful places and enjoy this and enjoy that in your lucid dreaming. It's really for being able to connect. That was what Kathy said right in the beginning, with your primordial consciousness. So it's a completely different things. And I think that, I think that if we can use the content of dreams in the beginning, if that's very helpful and very useful to you to get to know what are your dark sides, what are my limitations, what do I have to know about myself, that's perfectly okay. As long as you know that it is part of the dream and part of what we are doing, then it's okay. But the minute you're using it for I, me, myself, you've lost what we do in Tibetan dream yoga. And the practice of those are more or less just what I want you to do with the theorists. And I just want to say that that in the lucid dreaming, it's really very important, because I just want to give you this quote. Just hang on. Because I must get the quote 100%. Otherwise, I can't give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you if I don't get it 100%. I don't know where I put it. Let me see. Okay. Dream consciousness is waking consciousness without physical restraints. Dream consciousness is waking consciousness without physical restraints. Waking consciousness, when you're awake and walking around, is dream consciousness with physical restraints. But in the Tibetan dream yoga, the most important, this was a text which was dictated by Padmasambhava to his consort to put there and discovered in the 14th century. Tibetan dream yoga is all about the illusory, the impure illusory body and the pure illusory body. The impure illusory body is this, plus all the things in my environment. That's called the impure illusory body. The pure illusory body is when you are reacting. Like Martin, you always do green Tara. So green Tara is your pure illusory body. It's still illusory because it's still made up of causes and comes back into the essence all the time. But as soon as you can become and relate to the impure illusory body, you're on your way to primordial consciousness. So Tibetan dream yoga always starts from the minute you wake up in the morning, never mind the sleep state. And you start to say, this is a dream. This is all a dream. This is temporary. This is transitory. That is what you have to do all day, to know that this is a dream. What I went through is a dream. What I lost is a dream. What I had is a dream. It's all temporary. It's all transient. We'll do the meditation just now, and we'll do the going to sleep at night. But that's your most important thing. So when you go through the hurtful things, the bereavements, the traumas, the everything, you were in the right place. It was really important that you were there, but it's all dreamlike, like echoes, like illusions, like dreams. Like I've got all the adjectives, what it really is. And it's really, really important to understand, like gleams before the eyes, like reflections in water, like lightning, echoes, rainbows, moonlight, all of that. Tibetan dream yoga gives us the opportunity to practice day and night. And it's the great preparation for the big sleep of death. The great preparation. Because once you are awake in your dreams and lucid, as soon as you die, you will be awake and lucid. You will know where you're going. I'm dealing with a family at the moment where the mother has just suddenly died. And the family has got psychopathology like you cannot imagine. Terrible, terrible things. The games they play, the way they live and everything. Now, I can just imagine this woman who I've never met. I only know from all the family members. I can imagine her hanging on for dear life to these grieving people. So what I'm saying to her, and her own sister said to me, good luck, Melanie, because she was very conservative, okay? So I don't know if you're going to have much luck freeing her, but I've been saying to her, please do not involve yourself in your family's grief and shouting and screaming and the games that are going on. Please understand what you have to do is you have to go to the light. You have to recognize, know who you are. This is all temporary, transient. But what if you are totally and utterly attached to everything here? How do you die? When you die, you're just deleting this whole physical life, and then you're moving on into another life. And if you're involved in this life, you're going to suffer a lot because you're never going to be able to be free. It's really important that we all understand this, and that at some level we help other people to understand it. Questions? Comments? Anyone? Anybody, please. I mean, do it, because I've said a lot to you. It's all about liberating your minds. It's all about your liberation. That's what it is. And when we go to sleep and when we die, the world we know recedes into the background and a new consciousness is born. In the dream bardo, a less dense configuration. So when entering the dream, time and space operates differently and lacks the solidity that our wakeful life does have.
So Mel, by doing
oh, good, you're back.
yes, finally. So Mel, by doing spiritual practice, whatever, there's different forms of spiritual practice,
Right.
living consciously, not connecting more with our primordial nature, or developing that kind of understanding or awareness of that. That's how we get in touch more and more with our primordial nature.
100%. Just by being aware. One tool, awareness. But awareness means non-distraction. And I can see how even after all these years, how easy it is for me to get distracted. I've got so many things to do all the time, and so many things to answer and tend to all the time, that I can easily go over there and forget exactly what the mind is. Now, when you have that awareness, these masters never take their mind off the awareness of the primordial consciousness. Therefore, as I said in that first thing, the primordial consciousness can start operating through you. If you're not a channel, how can it? How can it operate through you if you're not a channel? You have to be a pure channel to let it operate through you. And so what you're saying is 100%. It's awareness. It's awareness. So what I do very often is that I, when I'm in a place, I actually try and focus on my awareness of what's happening rather than the content of what's happening. Do you know what I mean? Like if I've had to be with a lot of different people lately, a lot of different people socially and everything. And when I'm with them, instead of focusing on the content of the conversation, I'm watching what everybody's doing. I'm aware, I'm trying to see. So whereas I would have come in quite aggressively in part of the conversation, I'm watching another dimension of it. That's number one. And number two, what starts happening And that's what I realized. What starts happening to you as you do more meditation, more dream work, more Vajrayana work, more training yourself in the pure illusory body. Okay, when the more you do that, you suddenly find that things happen. They happen just, it's almost like a puzzle fitting in. You know, like I told the people yesterday, I said, you know, Lamayeshi Rinpoche doesn't talk very much. Now, you also found that when you went to Samiling, recently. He doesn't talk very much at all. Okay, in the whole day, we spent a whole day with him on Sunday, and he only spoke a few things. When Joss asked him a couple of questions, he answered them. Me doesn't even answer because he's comfortable with me, so he doesn't have to, but he's polite to Joss. He answers his questions and things, and he will be polite to people. But that mind, when I walked through my house and my garden where he had been, there was a change. This room, when I came back into this room, he came and he blessed it with Tamapa's rice, not ordinary rice. He had a little packet of Tamapa's rice that was obviously given to him, and he put that. And then I started to tell him when he wanted his chair to be there in my shrine room, and then he wanted Annie Lama to move his chair there because he wanted to look at all the things on my altar. And I've got some amazing things on my altar that have really been given to me by various lamas and also by Ekong Rinpoche. I mean, Ekong Rinpoche has given me so many very valuable things, on my shrine, which he looked at. So he was looking at everything, and then he did the blessing in quite a strange, different way with his little rice and everything. He did the blessing. Something changed in that room when I came back in the night. So you know, he's no longer dependent on physical consciousness. He doesn't even bother to try now with physical consciousness unless he doesn't know you. But with me, he's perfectly comfortable to remain silent for the day. But don't underestimate what that consciousness is doing, ever, because you'll be, you really would be. And I'm going to try and get him to come and greet you. We've only got about 2 or 3 weeks left, so I'm going to try and get him to come and greet all of you, one of the evenings of maybe next week. I'll ask him if he won't just come on and say hello to everybody. But I am telling you that when he puts his energy into things, they change. Now that is a pure focus on the primordial consciousness and its operation, rather than the content of this life. It's really important to understand that when you watch these masters, how they operate. It's amazing. Any other questions? Any other comments you want? Let's do the meditation. I'm just looking at what I want to maybe do with anything else. Just remember that the dreams of clarity, where you start having the lucid dreams, okay, and this is where the creation of the dream body comes in, okay, you can still have some dualistic engagement, but they are much purer when you're in the dreams of clarity. You can receive omens and prognostications. You can sometimes feel things are going to happen from what you learned in your dream. You can have past life dreams. You won't have past life dreams for the hang of it. You'll have a past life dream if it's really important for you to know what you are doing here from that past life dream. But you can have a past life dream. You can have spiritual teachings. You can have lineage teachings and guidance. I always tell you about my dream just before I came into Tibetan Buddhism, I had this dream. Now I was very, very aware of female energy, the female energy of beautiful beings. I'd always been aware that I wanted to have that beautiful feminine energy. And in this dream, and I had no idea who this person was or anything like that, but in this dream, I saw all these people crowding around this being. And I came through like this and came through all the beings. And there was this really ugly hag who was dancing. And when I got closer and closer, she was dancing and dancing. I hadn't come to Tibetan Buddhism yet. She was dancing and dancing and dancing. And when I got closer, I saw that she had a plate. And on her plate was a severed head. Okay, a severed head. And everybody was going around me, oh, she's so ugly. But I looked at this being and I said, I remember that dream as though it was yesterday and it was eons ago. And I said, she's absolutely beautiful. And so what she heard me saying that, she came with this plate with a head on top of it. And she got hold of me and we started to dance around. And then she gave me the plate with the head on. That was more or less the dream. It was a long, quite involved dream and everything. I didn't know what it was, but I knew when I woke up that I felt completely and totally different. That's how you tell a dream of clarity, because something really magical happens in the dream. Anyway, as I went along, I really understood that that was Vajrayogini, who actually, because when I saw a picture of her much later in her lovely poses, and I use her all the time, I knew that it was her. And what she came to tell me was that all this rubbish of any ego gets severed. I've got a curved knife, which is very interesting because, you know, Akon Rinpoche gave me a curved knife. You know, I've shown that to you before. And her curved knife had cut off the head. And she was saying to me, no ego, no ego. You sever all the head stuff. And that was my very first introduction. And I only understood that dream much later, but it was a very profound dream that had a very big impact onto me. It was almost my introduction to Tibetan Buddhism that I had. So you can have very exciting dreams. I've had wonderful dreams with Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche. I've had dreams with Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche. I've had dreams with lots and lots of these beautiful beings, and they really change you a lot in those dreams of clarity. So I think when you've got a lot of rubbish in your psyche, it's quite difficult to have those kind of dreams of clarity, where you're out of your body and you're in a dream state. It's really takes a while and practice, but I've done it for many, many, many years. So let's do a meditation. And not a meditation, let's do a dream that as though you were going into your dream state. So I want you, which you're probably going to do just now anyway, I want you to imagine that you are about to go to sleep, okay? And you're sitting on the top of your bed with your cushion, and I would love you to do this when you go, but you could do it for now, and Rowan, you're in your bed, so you're already there. So just get your back straight, okay? Because it's important when you do the dream yoga every night before I go to bed, no matter what the time, I always take my notes of Tibetan dream yoga, and I really do go into it. Why it's important for your body to be straight, as I told you last time, is because you want all the energy to come into the central channel before you go to sleep. So remember, this is your central channel right down the middle. In women, the left side channel, there are lots of channels, but the three main ones, the left side channel is your negative energies, your negative emotions. So that's why it's very good when you go to sleep for women to sleep on their left side, so you're blocking the negative emotions. For men to sleep on their right side because you're blocking the negative emotions. The other side is your wisdom energies, but not your pure wisdom, just your positive energy. So it's okay for that to be when you go to sleep. So we are going to first do the breathing again. You take your fingers, your two thumbs to your two ring fingers, okay, to your two ring fingers, put them over your nostrils. And for women, you breathe in through the left nostril and out through the right nostril, then you block the left one. So in other words, you're cleaning your channels. And for men, Viam's not here anymore, you do the opposite. So do 3 breaths like that to cleanse. Now the other way around. Now both nostrils, so leave your hands and you just go in through your nostrils and out 3 times. Those are called your cleansing channels. And if you want to next week, just say to me, can you do that in detail with us? I will definitely explain much more what you're doing when you cleanse the channels. Now you are ready to go to bed. You finished all your junk. Try not and watch television right up until the moment you are going to bed. Switch it off a little earlier and feel within your being this wonderful feeling that I'm going into a bardo of a different consciousness. How exciting. And I want to prepare myself totally for my sleep tonight. I want to be ready and awake. So first practice to generate lucid dreaming is to practice the recognition of the dreamlike nature of life until the same recognition begins to manifest in your dream. When you start your day, you think to yourself, I am awake in a dream. This is a dream. It's all a dream. Am I dreaming or am I awake? You do your reality testing. Is this real or unreal? How real is this? How long-lasting is this? Everything passes. Everything is impermanent, transient. Things are like a mirage. Look at our lives. Are we investing in fool's gold? This is just my projected version of the event. Tibetan dream yoga gives us the opportunity to practice day and night. It is the practice for the big sleep. Keep reminding yourself that you are dreaming up your experiences, the anger you feel, the happiness, the fatigue, the anxiety. It's all part of the dream. Look at all your experiences as insubstantial, transient, intimately related just to your mind's projections. All phenomena are fleeting and essenceless, like bubbles on a stream. As life feels less real to us, it loses power over us and can no longer disturb us. Our reactions begin to change. So does the root of dreaming change. Experience yourself as a dream. Imagine yourself as an illusion, as a dream figure with a body that lacks solidity. Imagine your personality as projections of your mind. Feel the truth of all this beyond words. So now you have breathed and you are ready. You're getting ready, and before you lie down, you breathe. You let go of all your preoccupations of the day. You're resolving your intention. You're now soon going to lie down, and you could do this beautiful chant that is given in Tibetan dream yoga. May I awaken in the dream and grasp the fact that I'm dreaming, so that all dreamlike beings may likewise awaken from the nightmare of illusory suffering and confusion. May I please awaken in the dream and grasp the fact that I'm dreaming, so that all dreamlike beings may likewise awaken from the nightmare of illusory suffering and confusion. May I awaken in the dream and grasp the fact that I'm dreaming, so that all dreamlike beings may likewise awaken from the nightmare of illusory suffering and confusion. Now we've set the resolve, the intention, which make an imprint on you. Now you lie down in your bed. The woman on the left side, you can put your hand under your cheek, you can put your hand there, it doesn't really matter. Just allow yourself to lie down in this beautiful, beautiful state with conscious intention. Feel the breath or energy into the throat chakra when you want to dream, into the heart chakra when you want to go to the clear light. Look into the light behind the eyelids. Allow the rest of your body to relax and recede as if becoming like the earth. Going into the throat chakra, up to the third eye and up, and let the dream body arise through the source of expression and vision. Slowly, you are starting to go through the hypnagogic images that come at the beginning of the dream state. We're in a dream passage or bardo, in between waking and sleeping. Notice the transition instead of just into sleep. Notice the transition from waking into sleeping. It's a good time to notice the illusory quality of the forms. Just enter into the luminous, clear light. You're going into wakefulness, into luminous clarity. Don't just bow down and go into sleep. Allow those hypnagogic images to come through in your sleep state. You'll see all these dreamlike images as you're going through the passage into sleep and then into deeper and deeper sleep. But you are aware, you are awake, you are absolutely clear there, and you're going into very deep sleep and then back into the REM sleep, into the deep sleep and into the REM sleep where the dreaming is there. And you ask yourself, I am awakening in the dream and knowing that I am going to dream. I will recognize the dream. I will know that I am dreaming. I will be in a dream body going into the dream state, playing music on the flute of emptiness. Allow yourself to go slowly, slowly into the sleep state. And those of you who want to, I've got lots of techniques of the Tibetan dream yoga that you can use as you're going into sleep, okay? As you're going in, you can see in your heart this beautiful four-petaled red lotus with an ah in the middle. And watch as that ah goes out with rainbow light and makes everything in your room into pure rainbow light and comes back into the ah. And you see this beautiful clear light as you're falling asleep and this beautiful state that you are in. This is an exciting time as we go into the bardo of dreams. And remember, after you wake up, I'll give you some more things next week when we do the questions and answers. But remember, as you wake up in the morning, you recall your dreams, even if it's just a little thread. Recall your dreams and have your dream journal next to you. And notice the dream signs. You'll get used to the dream signs in your sleep state of what your particular dreaming program is. You'll see them in the sleep state. And as soon as you wake up, take your dream journal and write it down before you go into anything in this world. And you will find that as you progress more and more, as you go into that beautiful sleep state and dream bardo, more and more happens. And you are reaching a beautiful state of touching that primordial consciousness and allowing yourself to actually go into the clear light of sleep rather than just a dead sleep state. So that's how you're all going to go to bed. Phyllis, you're not going to go to bed in America yet, but the rest of you, keep this feeling, keep this feeling when you go into your bed, and then write down all your questions. Write them down. You can even send them to me. And then next week, we'll just do a question and answer, and I'll give you some lovely samsaric dreams to explore, just to see what they really are all about. From my dream groups, I've got a whole lot that are written down. So let's dedicate Fee, and then I'll answer anybody who wants anything. So let's dedicate to the whole, this universe and the billionfold universe and all the people suffering and all the wars and all the terrorist activities and all the people suffering in natural disasters and plane crashes and in the death bardos. If they can get just a little bit from this, not to be afraid where you are, just to wake up and not be attached, then through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience. May all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam die tamche zipane, topne nepe dranam pamshene, jeganachi bala topaye, sipe sole doa droa show.